The early morning light filtered softly through the scattered clouds, casting a silvery glow over the floating isle where Alara stood, her gaze fixed on the horizon. The sky was a restless canvas today, streaked with shadows of gathering storm clouds that churned ominously above the distant shards of the shattered continent. A chill wind stirred her dark hair, teasing it loose from the braid she had tied before dawn. She drew her cloak tighter around her slender frame, the cool air biting gently at her exposed skin. For a moment, Alara closed her eyes, letting the wind carry her thoughts back to a day she never forgot, the last storm her father faced. The memory was as vivid as the day it had happened, though years had passed like drifting clouds since then. She could still hear the roar of thunder that shook the floating islands, the fierce howling of winds that tore at the sky like wild beasts, and the desperate voice of her father calling out across the tempest. Her father, a renowned cloud shepherd, had always been a figure both revered and mysterious. His disappearance during that storm had left a void not only in Elara's life, but in the delicate balance of the Sky Kingdoms. She remembered her mother's silent tears and the whispered fears among the elders, fears that the ancient magic binding the clouds was unraveling, that the storms foretold a greater peril looming beyond their floating isles. Elara's fingers brushed over the delicate silver pendant that hung at her throat, a keepsake from her father. It was shaped like a cloud, etched with ancient runes that glimmered faintly in the pale light. She clutched it tightly, drawing strength from the symbol of her lineage and the legacy she had sworn to uphold. Stepping away from the cliff's edge, Alara made her way through the winding paths lined with soft moss and fragrant sky flowers, their petals shimmering with dew. The isle was waking slowly, the gentle murmur of sentient clouds drifting overhead soothing her restless mind. She approached a small weathered shrine nestled beneath the twisted limbs of an ancient sky ochre place, where she often came to find solace. The shrine was simple but sacred, adorned with tokens left by generations of cloud shepherds. Among them were carved stones, feathers, and offerings of cloud nectar. Alara knelt, her breath catching as she traced the worn carvings on the shrine's wood symbols of protection and remembrance. Her voice fell to a whisper, a soft promise carried on the breeze. "I will protect this sky, Father. I will not let your sacrifice be in vain." The weight of her vow settled heavily on her chest, mingling with the familiar ache of loss. Yet beneath the sorrow was a spark of determination, a flicker of hope that had grown stronger with each passing day. She was no longer the uncertain apprentice who had hesitated at the edge of her duties. The burdens of her heritage and the looming threat of the storm spirit demanded more. As she rose from the shrine, the footsteps of another approached, steady and calm. Kalen, her mentor, appeared through the mist, his tall figure framed by the swirling clouds. His silver-streaked hair caught the light, and his piercing blue eyes held a mixture of concern and understanding. "Elara," he greeted, voice low but firm. "You carry a heavy burden, child. But remember, even the strongest storm eventually passes." She offered a faint smile, the corners of her lips trembling slightly. "Sometimes I wonder if I have the strength to face what's coming. The storm spirit, fair, it feels so much bigger than me." Kalen nodded, stepping closer. "Strength is not born from certainty, but from the courage to face the unknown. Your father understood that better than most. His legacy is not just in his deeds, but in those who remember and continue his work." He shared stories, then tales of storms long past, of cloud shepherds who had stood against overwhelming odds. Each story was a thread woven into the tapestry of their shared history, a reminder that they were never truly alone beneath the vast sky. Later, as twilight painted the sky in shades of lavender and gold, Alara sat by a small fire with Myra, her closest friend among the apprentices. Myra's youthful optimism was a balm to Ilaro's restless spirit. The crackling flames cast dancing shadows on their faces, and the scent of burning driftwood mingled with the cool evening air. "Do you think we'll ever see skies without fear again?" Alara asked quietly, watching the embers glow. Myra reached out, taking Alara's hand in hers. "I believe we will. The sky may be broken, but it's still ours. And as long as we stand together, I know we can heal it." The warmth of Myra's words kindled a new fire within Alara, one that burned away some of the cold doubt. She realized that her journey was not solitary. She had allies, friends, and a purpose greater than herself. Night deepened around them, the stars sparkling like scattered jewels across the endless expanse. Ilara gazed upward, feeling the weight of her past and the promise of what lay ahead. The storm spirit's shadow loomed, but so too did the strength of those who would stand against it. And as the winds whispered through the floating isles, Ilara knew her story was only just beginning. But even as hope stirred in her heart, a distant rumble echoed through the sky. A reminder that the balance was fragile and the coming days would test her in ways she had yet to imagine. The tempest cloud churned around Ilara like a living nightmare, dark and wild. Yet beneath its ferocious exterior, a strange pulse of life and sorrow whispered to her very soul. Standing at the heart of the swirling storm, with her breath caught between the roar of thunder and the crackle of lightning, Ilara felt an unfamiliar connection, starring unspoken song of anguish and power that reached beyond mere magic. "Velthor," she whispered, the name trembling on her lips like a fragile hope. The storm around her answered, a low rumble that seemed almost like a sigh, a mournful sound carried on the wind. Kellen's voice came from the edge of the cloud circle, steady but cautious. "Remember, Ilara, this spirit is not merely a force to be tamed. It carries the weight of ancient betrayal. Approach with care." Sylvie's sharp eyes flickered with a mixture of excitement and warning, but also with empathy. "That's the key. The old ways bind with fear. We must try something new." Ilara nodded, stepping deeper into the tempest's eye. The air was electric, charged with a raw energy that made her skin prickle. Raising her hands, she reached out not with spells or commands, but with understanding. "I know you are bound unfairly. I feel your pain, your rage, but you are not alone. We can find a way to heal together." For a moment, the storm paused, as if listening. Then, a voice like thunder and crackling rain filled her mind, a symphony of power and sorrow. "Young shepherd," it said, "I am Velthor, once guardian of skies unbroken, now prisoner of fear and silence. Betrayed by those I swore to protect, sealed away lest my strength consume the realms. What would you seek from a storm that has known only chains?" Images flashed in Elara's mind skies, torn asunder. Ancient rulers cloaked in fear and greed. The spirit's desperate fight to protect the fragile balance and the cruel bindings that silenced its power. The story unfolded like a broken melody, each note steeped in tragedy. "I seek understanding," Ilara replied softly, "not to command you, but to stand beside you. The sky realms are fragile, and your fury is born of pain. But together, perhaps we can restore what was lost." The tempest rippled, lightning eyes narrowing as if weighing her words. "Many have come before you, bearing promises and threats alike. Why should I trust a mere apprentice cloud shepherd?" She drew a steady breath, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and resolve. "Because I carry more than the shepherd's staff, I carry hope. the hope that even forgotten magic can be reborn, that creation and destruction can walk hand in hand. I do not seek to bind you with chains, but with a pact forged in trust. A shudder passed through the storm, a moment of stillness where the very clouds seemed to hold their breath. Then, slowly, the tempest began to calm, the wild wind softening to a whisper, the lightning dimming to gentle pulses. From the edge of the storm, Kalen stepped forward, his weather-beaten face etched with cautious relief. "You have done what few dared, Alara. This could change everything." Sylvie's grin was fierce, but warm. The old fears are beginning to crack. Now begins the true challenge, convincing the world to listen. Ilara's gaze lingered on the storm spirit's shifting form, no longer only a harbinger of destruction, but a being of immense complexity and potential. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with danger and doubt, but for the first time, she felt a spark of hope that the storm's song could become a melody of renewal. As the last echoes of thunder faded into the sky, Ilara whispered once more, "Together, Velthor, we will find the balance." The storm spirit's voice lingered like a distant promise, "Together." And with that, the clouds began to part, revealing a fragile glimmer of dawn on the horizon, uncertain but hopeful new beginning. The grand chamber topped the floating isle of Halcyon, pulsed with a restless energy, as storm clouds roiled faintly beyond the tall stained glass windows, casting fractured light across the assembly. Representatives from each sky kingdom gathered in a tense semicircle, their faces a mixture of fear, suspicion, and hardened resolve. Alara stood near the center, her heart pounding like a drum echoing the distant thunder, her slender frame dwarfed by the imposing chamber and its weighty histories. "We stand on the edge of calamity," Eldrin declared, his voice cold and unwavering. The sharp lines of his face were drawn tight with concern, his eyes scanning the assembly with the precision of a hawk. "This storm spirit Velthoris, no guardian. It is a force of destruction that will tear apart our world. We must act decisively and eradicate the threat before it grows beyond control." Murmurs rippled through the crowd, some nodding in agreement, others whispering anxiously. Ilara's gaze drifted to Kalen, whose weather-beaten face betrayed the weight of long experience. He gave her a subtle nod, an unspoken encouragement to speak her truth. Ilara stepped forward, her voice soft at first, trembling like the first breeze of a gathering storm. "I understand your fears," she began, her grey eyes meeting those of the assembly one by one. "Velthor is powerful, yes, but it is not merely a force of destruction. It is bound by ancient magic, a spirit of the skies that embodies creation as well as chaos. To destroy it outright risks unraveling the delicate balance that holds our realm together." A tense silence followed, broken only by the faint crackle of static in the charged air. Eldrin's eyes narrowed. "And what would you have us do, apprentice? Pray to the storm?" Sylvie, standing just behind Ilara, stepped forward with a mischievous grin, her wild copper hair catching the light. "Not pray, but understand. There is lost magic, ancient and powerful, that can bind Velthor anew, not to imprison, but to transform." The room erupted into a fresh wave of debate. Voices rose, some accusing Ilara and Sylvie of dangerous naivety, others cautiously hopeful about the possibility of containment. Myra, Ilara's steadfast friend, whispered words of support, grounding her in the whirlwind of politics. Ilara's mind raced. The divisions among the Sky Kingdoms were deeper than she had imagined, the fear of change palpable. Yet, in the midst of discord, a fragile thread of hope glimmered, a chance to unite and protect the realm without resorting to destruction. As the assembly wore on, Ilara found her voice growing stronger, her arguments more precise. She spoke of balance, resilience, and the power of trust. Though many remained unconvinced, a few flickers of alliance began to kindle among the delegates. But with every ally gained, the opposition hardened. Eldrin's faction, entrenched in fear and tradition, plotted to undermine Ilaro's efforts. The storm spirit's shadow stretched long, not only across the skies but within the hearts of those sworn to protect them. As the meeting drew to a close, the chambers fell into uneasy silence. Outside, the clouds churned ominously, a reminder that the fragile peace was but a prelude to the greater trials ahead. Ilara cast her gaze upward, feeling the weight of the sky's uncertain future pressing upon her. She knew the path forward would be fraught with danger and doubt, but also with the possibility of hope reborn. "We must stand together," she whispered to herself, "or we will all fall apart like the shattered continent below." The dawn broke slowly over the floating islands, casting a gentle glow across the soft, sentient clouds that drifted lazily beneath the endless sky. Ilara perched on a particularly buoyant wisp, its edges tinged with the first blush of morning light. Her gaze was distant, clouded with the weight of recent days' whispers of political unrest, the enigmatic storm spirit, and the relentless pressure to prove herself capable. Beside her, Mira settled comfortably, her presence a calm anchor in the swirling sea of Ilara's thoughts. "You've been quiet," Mira observed softly, her voice blending seamlessly with the gentle breeze. "What's heavy on your mind?" Ilara sighed, the sound nearly lost amidst the subtle rustling of the clouds. "It's everything, really. The councils, the factions, the storm spirit. I'm not sure I'm ready. Sometimes I wonder if I ever will be." Myra nodded, her eyes reflecting the soft gold of the rising sun. "I know that feeling well. When I first began, I thought I had to be perfect, flawless even. But what I learned is that strength isn't about never faltering. It's about standing up again after falling." Ilara looked at her friend, the earnestness in Myra's gaze igniting a flicker of warmth within her. "But how do you keep going when the doubt seems so loud? When the sky itself feels like it might fall?" "You don't do it alone," Myra replied, her smile steady and reassuring. "You surround yourself with those who believe in you, who remind you of who you are when you forget. And you remember why you started in the first place." The clouds beneath them shifted, responding almost to the cadence of Myra's words, swirling with a gentle urgency that mirrored Ilara's own restless heart. A sudden gust sent a cascade of mist curling around their feet, and Ilara reached out instinctively, feeling the familiar softness of the cloud tendrils. Myra placed her hand over Ilara's, grounding her, offering silent solidarity. "There's something else," Myra admitted after a moment, her voice dropping to a confiding whisper. "I struggled too with my magic, with the expectations placed upon me. I feared I'd never be accepted, never find my place among the cloud shepherds. But it's not about fitting a mold. It's about shaping your own path, even if it's messy or uncertain." Ilara considered this, feeling the tension in her chest loosen just slightly. "You make it sound so simple." "It's not," Myra said with a chuckle. "But it's worth it, and you're not alone in this journey." The distant rumble of a lightning storm flickered on the horizon, casting fleeting shadows that danced across their faces. It was a reminder of the power and danger that lurked beyond their tranquil momenta, reminder of the storm spirit that awaited its awakening. Yet beneath the turmoil, a seed of hope took root in Ilara's heart. She rose from the cloud, the soft platform cushioning her steps. Looking out over the sprawling expanse of floating isles, she felt the weight of responsibility settle more firmly on her shoulders. and with it, a fierce determination to rise to the challenge. "Thank you, Myra," Ilara said quietly, "for reminding me who I am and who I can be." Mira smiled, her eyes shining with pride. "Always. Now, let's face the storm together." As the morning light strengthened, the two friends descended toward the heart of their isle, ready to confront whatever trials the sky might yet hold. And in that moment, amidst the ever-shifting clouds and endless blue, Ilara found a quiet strength blossoming within a promise that no matter how fierce the tempest, she would stand firm, guided by the bonds of friendship and the enduring hope that even the darkest storm could be calmed. But even as resolve settled in, an unseen shadow flickered beyond the horizon, an omen that the coming days would test not only Ilara's courage, but the very fate of the Sky Kingdoms themselves. The winds whispered secrets on the breeze, and the clouds seemed to hold their breath, waiting for what was to come. The morning dawned pale and uncertain over the floating isles, the sun's first light filtering through a haze of lingering clouds that seemed restless, whispering secrets no one dared fully hear. Ilara stood at the edge of the highest plateau on her home isle, her grey eyes tracing the jagged horizon where islands drifted like shards of glass suspended in the sky. Beside her, Sylvie adjusted the leather straps of her worn satchel, her copper hair unkempt and wild as ever, eyes bright and determined. "You've been holding back," Sylvie said, voice low but edged with challenge. "The sky doesn't wait for those who hesitate." Ilara's fingers brushed the soft, swirling cloud that hovered near her palm, its mist cool and alive against her skin. "I'm not sure I'm ready to abandon what I've been taught. The cloud shepherds have rules for a reason." Sylvie's green eyes flashed. "Rules made by those afraid of change, afraid of power they don't understand. You think the old ways will save the sky? They're shackles, Ilara, chains binding you to a past that's already crumbling." Kellen's voice broke through the morning stillness like distant thunder. "Careful, both of you. There's wisdom in traditions and danger in reckless magic." The veteran shepherd emerged from the trees, his tall frame casting a long shadow. His silver-streaked hair caught the light, giving him an almost spectral presence. "Sylvie, your methods are unorthodox at best, and Ilara, you must find balance, not destruction, in your power." Sylvie smirked, but nodded respectfully. "I respect Kalen, but sometimes respect means knowing when to break the mold." Ilara swallowed, torn between the steady guidance of her mentor and the fiery insistence of her new ally. She glanced back at the cloud, now pulsing gently with a soft glow. "I want to protect the skies," she whispered, "but I don't want to lose myself in the process." Sylvie stepped forward, raising a hand. The air crackled, and suddenly a jagged streak of lightning arced between her fingers, illuminating the clearing in stark flashes. The storm spirit's volatile energy seemed to echo in the raw power Sylvie wielded. "Then trust yourself. Trust the storm inside you, not just the calm you're used to." A gust of wind whipped through the aisle, scattering leaves and lifting Ilara's dark hair. Her heart pounded with a mix of exhilaration and fear. Could she truly embrace this wild magic without losing the essence of who she was? That day, beneath violet-tinged clouds and the watchful eyes of the floating isles, Ilara took her first steps beyond the boundaries of tradition. Sylvie's challenge was not just a test of power, but of conviction, a call to awaken the dormant strength within her and to question the very foundations of the world she thought she understood. As the sun climbed higher, Ilara and Sylvie trained fiercely, the clash of old and new magic painting the sky with flashes of lightning and swirling mists. Kalen remained nearby, his gaze sharp and cautious, silently weighing the risks and the promise of this uneasy alliance. That night, as the stars blinked awake and the floating isles settled into quiet anticipation, Ilara lay awake, her mind alight with possibilities and doubts. The path ahead was uncertain and dangerous, but for the first time, she felt a surge of hope that maybe, just maybe, she could change the fate of the Sky Kingdoms, not by destruction, but by daring to embrace the storm within. The challenge Sylvie had set was only the beginning. The true test was yet to come.